Hello there, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Gary gzduels, and I'm here to do another episode of Yu-Gi-Oh! Stories with Gary. And for this episode, we're going to talk about playstyles. And now, I think there are different playstyles in Yu-Gi-Oh!, namely four. So the four different playstyles are, first of all, Troll. Okay, so I'm going to talk about that first. Troll playstyle, and then you'll have Stun playstyle. You'll have the Constructivist playstyle, or Construction, and then you'll have combo-orientated playstyles. So those are the different four playstyles. The first one I'm talking about is Troll playstyle. To promptly get it out of the way, Troll playstyle is what I'm thinking is when you're playing a deck that doesn't require on the conventional style of winning. So you don't win because you made your opponent's life points to 0 or anything. You're exploiting another part of the game that gives you another win condition. So if you play Chainburn, for example, you're not engaging with your opponent, you're killing them by effect damage. Or if you're playing Yugioh, or if you're playing a deck out deck, stuff like that. So for those decks, the playstyle is simple. Try to achieve the end goal, whether it be to burn your opponent to death, draw Yugioh pieces, or deck your opponent out. It's pretty straightforward, so I'm not going to talk about that playstyle. The remaining three playstyles I will talk about. The first thing I want to talk about is the stun playstyle. So for the stun playstyle, what I'm thinking about are decks like Stardust Assault Mode, decks like Evil Swarm is also a stun deck-ish because Evil Swarms have Ophion. They kind of shut off a game mechanic, and there's Six Samurai is a different good, another good stun deck. And there's another type of stun deck like requires no or minimal setup. So those decks are what I like to call Rock Stun would be a good idea. So the difference between the two types of stun decks is the first stun deck, you're trying to shut off a game mechanic. You're trying to shut off determine what your opponent can and can't do in the game. That's what stun players do in general. But in the former case, where you're relying on a boss monster, so like Shien, like Stardust Assault Mode, like whatever you're trying to, Light and Darkness Dragon, stuff like that. So you're trying to shut off what your opponent can and cannot do based on the effect of a monster, like a boss monster. So in the latter case, when you're talking about like Rock Stun, it's also trying to shut off what your opponent can and cannot do. You're determining what they can and cannot do, but you're doing it through a immediate cause. So there's a difference between the former. The former is you're using a final cause. So you're using a monster that can continually try to shut off a function of the game. So if you're using Evil Swarm Ophion, you're shutting off all of the your opponent's ability to summon out higher level monsters. Now if you're using Rock Stun, you're shutting off another game mechanic, but you're doing it through a immediate cause. You're using, Kawakimeru Sandman to negate a trap card. You're using Kawakimeru Wall to negate a spell card. So you're dispensing with the thing that's negating at the same time your opponent's negating. So that's the difference between the two stun. But the overall objective is the same. You're trying to stop at all costs what your opponent can and cannot do. You determine what your opponent can and cannot do. So in order to be a good stun player, you need to have good decision-making skills. You need to be able to most of the time use one card, try to get rid of the cards that they set up with two cards. So say for example, your opponent is going to a Synchro Summon. So in order to go for a Synchro Summon, they need at least two cards, the tuner and the non-tuner monster. Now if they Synchro Summon and you use something like Bottomless, which is one card, you technically +1 because you're using one card to get rid of two cards that they have, plus a card in the extra deck, which is really cool because now they no longer have that option to go into that card repeatedly. So that's really awesome. So as a stun player, you find no other enjoyment than stopping what your opponent can do. You know those videos that I make, like how to win against a certain deck, and there's a constant nope, you can't do this, you can't do that. That's what stun players are all about, stopping what your opponent can and cannot do. So that's stun. Now the second playstyle is construction. So for construction is the kind of like the opposite, but it's not really the opposite of stun. Construction is you're actively pursuing your end goal. You're actively pursuing your victory. So whereas stun, you're sitting back, letting your opponent try to pursue their objective and stopping them along the way. You're in the constructivist playstyle. You're trying to push to further your ends in order to your victory. So decks like this, Agents is a good one. Dragon Rulers is a good one. They're very aggressive. Decks that have different aggressive playstyles, Mermails, they're also very aggressive. They can OTK you out of nowhere. They can play stable. They can depend on their monsters. Decks that can depend on their monsters, those decks are like constructivist. And also decks to try to achieve mini goals along the way. So what I mean is, for example, if you take Dark Worlds, for example, your immediate goal is to get Graph into the graveyard, get some sort of Dark World monster in your hand so you can keep summoning back the Grapha, and you can dispense with that. Whenever Grapha gets destroyed, bring it back, attack your opponent. It's a 3000 attack beater with the field card. So that's what you're trying to do. That's how you win the games mostly, and that's what you're always trying to get at. And there are also decks that try to achieve a final goal. So just like how, there's two different playstyles in the stun deck, there are two different playstyles in the constructivist. One is you're trying to go step by step towards victory. If you're playing dragon rulers, you summon out a dragon, you try to synchro, you try to XYZ for that turn. Depend on the monster for a while, but once that monster is gone, you replace that monster. Now there's a different type of constructivist that is leading towards an end goal, like Lightsworn. Everything you're doing along the way, of course you're trying to earn advantage, of course you're trying to use Lila's effect, you're trying to use Lumina's effect, you're trying to mill different cards, you try to protect your monsters, try to put pressure on the field, but ultimately you're trying to lead to that win condition, which is the Judgment Dragon that you're summoning out, blow up the field, attack your opponent for game. That's where your end goal is. So there are decks like that, there are decks like intermediary goals you're trying to achieve, but either way they're trying to further your victory by active steps. So that's what construction playstyle is. The third playstyle is combo-orientated playstyle. Now, combo-orientated playstyle is an extreme playstyle. It's this playstyle that takes what both stun players do and what construction players do, and they're making it to an extreme. Now, they can be really, really passive when they're setting up for their combos. They can just be like, okay, I'm just going to set my threatening roar and pass my turn. My opponent tries to go off, threatening roar, okay, I have a different turn, I can hopefully draw into my combo pieces, finish my opponent off. So in this one, in combos, you're trying to hold off until the final second when you decide to commit to the field, commit to your tactic, and then you win the game based on OTK or based on the incredible amount of advantage you can accrue. So decks like this are like Madolches, are like Insectors, I don't know what other combos, Karakuri, Yugioh, those type of decks that try to special summon, like Dragoonides. They all try to kill your opponent. They can be passive when they're setting up, but once they get their combo off, they either win or they get a lot of field advantage that you can't come back from that. So a lot of players like to play that. They play extremely. So there's a continuum here. What I'm talking about. You have, on the one hand, you have the stun, and on the other hand, you have the extreme playstyle of playing combos. And then in the middle, you have constructivist, that tries to take the game slowly. So you have really slow, moderately slow, and combos which are really, really fast. So there are three different playstyles. You like to play slowly, control the pace and tempo. You want to play in the middle, you can play like step by step. Or you're playing the combo where it's like, okay, I can wait for a couple of turns and I kill you in like the fourth turn. So that's the three different playstyles. Me personally, I lean towards the stun type. I like to make those videos, where I stop what my opponent can and cannot do. Herald of Perfection is a good deck. I like to play Samurais, I like to play Stardust Assault Mode, stuff like that. I also like to play combo decks. I like to play the Madolche deck. I don't really like Insectors because I think they're a one-trick pony because they can only combo, they can't do other stuff, but I won't talk about that. I also like a bit of combo, so I'm actually in between the two extremes. I like to slow things down and control the game at my own pace, and on the other hand, I like to kill my opponent really quickly. What I don't like is this moderate position where I take it step by step. I think that's actually very boring for the game, but some people think it's healthy, to have like a back and forth. You can have a comeback, like a miracle comeback. You're actually engaging with your opponent when you're playing the game. I do agree with that, but I'm not that type of player. I like to just either kill my opponent right away or stall my opponent out, whereas they can't do anything at all without my permission. So tell me what you guys like to play, like what different playstyles you guys adopt when you're playing Yu-Gi-Oh, what decks you want to play. And I hope that this was informative. I hope that you pick a playstyle and you pick a deck that you really like, and everything at the end of the day is about fun. Try to play something that conforms to your playstyle, something you're comfortable with, something you have fun playing. That's what's very important, and with that you'll be very, very successful. So this is Gary gzduels signing out.